this computer. All right, so I'm Ronelle Delmont and I'm back. I'm still in Florida in the rainy season. It's July something or other, and my friend Roy Fischler has moved to San Diego. And he's the person who introduced direct democracy to me, and I love listening to anything he says about it. So here is Roy Fischler from San Diego. He got out there on a motorcycle, and that's where he is. So, Roy, hello. Yep. How are you?
Hello.
And we discussed a book. We didn't talk much about the book, but I'm holding it up here. You and I purchased the book, Let the People Rule.
Yes, I'd like to. I'd like to get my. I'd like to get my money back.
Let me tell them the whole title. Let me tell them. Let the People Rule. How direct democracy can meet the populist challenge. The populist challenge. The author is a professor, I think, at a university. I don't remember. He's out in California, Southern California, right?
Oh, okay. I'll go there and
talk to. Well, that would be a good idea. I would do it. John Matsusaka.
I'll take his book and shove it somewhere.
Oh no, it couldn't be that. Oh, that's mean.
Yes, it is. It's a complete fraud. It's a complete fraud.
Why is it fraud? Here's the cover.
Because about halfway through the book, you know, I in the previous video when we were talking about it, I was saying how he sounds very naive, that he actually thinks that he could get direct democracy by working through the current system. And
wait, start from the beginning. Explain the basic. What is he saying? Get your opinion of his method. What he is saying first explain direct democracy in a sentence or two, and tell us what he.
Direct democracy is you get rid of the politicians, the politician middlemen who that we can't vote directly on things. We can only vote for them, and they promise things and they never give us what we want. So it's just a complete scam, just to make it look like it's democracy, but it isn't. If the people want to get what they want, they have to vote on things directly. There are referendums, but you have to get rid of the politicians. So we have gotten things through referendums that we want, but not through the politicians.
So what is he saying in this book? That, I mean, simplify it. You're going to explain it better, but you said that it's not real direct democracy, what he's describing here.
Well, he advocates having referendums at the national level. That wouldn't help very much anyway, because of the problem of money. I talked about this in one of the previous videos, that you would need the amount of votes you would need. You'd need signatures, just like in the states that have referendums. The people have to gather signatures, and in order to get something on the ballot, and large amounts of signatures. California, actually, where I am now, has the most referendums on the ballot. So I guess they must have the lowest requirements. But the problem with that is that then you need so much money to have this giant effort to get people out and gathering signatures, that it gets corrupted, because the only things that'll get on the ballot are things that you get enough money for. And where do you get the money from? The billionaires, so you're never going to see anything challenging capitalism through a referendum.
You're talking about his idea of a national referendum.
So I mean, it would be better if you had national referendums, but you're not going to see anything dramatic. You get anything dramatic. You legalize cannabis at the national level, just like it's been legalized in many states at the state level, and things like that. But and on top of it all, because you can't get real change, in change, fundamental change, radical change in the way the economic system works, that leaves people with nothing but bad choices. So even when when the people decide on things and it seems like they've made a bad choice, it's because they're given nothing but bad choices. So what else can they do? They make a bad choice.
The lesser of two evils syndrome again.
Yeah, but and now in this case, in as far as referendums, yes or no instead of politician A or B. But then it turns out that the book is, that would be okay if he recommended that. I mean, it's just a mild reform, I wouldn't be against that. But then when you get about halfway through the book, you discover that when I said that he seemed to be naive when I just, looked through the book quickly. I hadn't read it yet. It turns out he isn't naive, because he says that we could never get referendums at the national level by working within the system. So, in other words, the whole thing is a fraud.
He knows that it can't work, and he's writing a book about it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So why did he write the book?
That doesn't make any sense. Why did he write the book if he knows it? Well, maybe he's.
Well, I know why he did.
Why?
Because there are what I think should best be called fake direct democracy decoys that the capitalists use in order to. It's like when the people finally. Yeah, so when the people finally realize that what we need, direct democracy, then they trot out these two fake decoys to try to fool the people farther. So it's like the layers of an onion. Every time you peel another layer, they put another layer for you to peel. Right. And the two fake decoys are what he's advocating, which is, okay, we can't get real referendums at the national level by working within the system, but so what we can get is advisory referendums.
And who's the advisor?
Yes,
we've got plenty of that.
Yes, so the people vote, and the politicians could do what they say, but they don't have to. And of course, in practice, that means that they won't. They'll ignore it. And this has already happened in several places. I know of two places. The EU. There is actually an advisory thing, and also in Brazil. So I've clicked on a video about how they have this in Brazil, and the title of it makes it seem like they have direct democracy in Brazil. Then you click on it, and it turns out it's advisory.
Oh,
just a fraud.
That's like when Tsar Nicholas created the Duma. They could talk all they want, but he had the last say in what they could pass or what was going to be accepted. So what was the point of the Duma?
Yes, that's right.
So John Matsusaka, here's a photo of him. I would love to ask him to, debate us. But I'm no authority on this, but he's the.
He might have trouble. He might have trouble talking after I've shoved his book somewhere.
Oh, don't be so mean. People have to make a living, they got to write books.
I don't think he did this just to make a living. I think it's to make a decoy.
Yeah, well, he's from Southern California, where you right now are. The Gould School of Law at the University of Southern California, Marshall School of Business. That's where he's from. He's the author of For the Many or the Few, the Initiative. Okay, he's written other books. American Democracy. He lives in LA, so you have to go up to LA where
Oh, only 100 miles away. Unfortunately, I didn't have that book shipped here. It wasn't worth it, that's for sure.
So
So
what
I,
he's saying is that he's written a book advocating something that can never be.
well, yes, he says it can never be.
He says, I
Yeah,
have the book and I don't remember whatever. The book was not interesting to me in a lot of chapters. So okay,
yeah, and
tell us
actually, I
more.
mean, I don't want anyone to buy it,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, you say that.
actually, I'm almost in favor of book burning after having read.
Oh, you're joking.
The only reason I wouldn't is because it would increase global warming.
Oh,
So, but just in, it's on page 130.
oh,
That's where he finally reveals that the whole point of the book is that the book is completely pointless.
130.
Yeah.
Well,
Um, so, so I don't know if you want to say anything more about it.
well, I'm interested in the fact that somebody has bamboozled us, at least to buy the book, and then when we get into it, I, I'm I I'm taking your word for all this because I didn't. Proposal number one, advisory referendums called by Congress. That tells everything. Yes, yes.
well, it doesn't really.
No.
I, I mean, you took that out of context.
Oh,
I put it in context.
okay. So you still need with direct democracy that you're advocating. You need Congress.
Uh, yeah. Well, I mean,
But they are our lackeys. They're going to do what we tell them to
yeah,
do. In
yeah,
other words.
they're really going to vote to give away their power. I mean, actually, the strange thing is that I don't even know how it happened, but the referendums at the state levels, politicians had to have approved them.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, I suppose if there was enough of a radical movement to scare them into it, they might say, okay, we'll give you these because they know that they're rigged anyway. They're not, by the fact that you need so much money to get them on the ballot. Um, and I should say that what I'm advocating is online direct democracy, not referendums where you have to go to a voting booth and once a year, but that you could vote anytime, and and you don't need a high number of the equivalent of signatures to get things on the ballot. You could have a lower number. I mean, you wouldn't want to have the people just drowning in things to vote on, but
Well,
you can.
let me say, that sounds like one of the drawbacks, because when I thought of it in the beginning, wow, we're going to have to all vote on every little thing in our daily lives. How that drowning in choices, drowning in decision making, that sounds like a setback to me.
Uh,
Yet you're saying that there would be people, sortition,
yeah, yeah. In the previous meeting, I already talked about sortition,
right?
where they did this in ancient Greece, where you pick a random sample of the population because a random sample, as long as it's big enough, when it can be very small,
Would
uh,
represent.
yeah, represents the whole population. You don't need everyone to vote, and you could have people voting so rarely that they would vote less often than now, uh, uh, and also, I mean, people don't have to vote on everything. And one thing you could do is on the direct democracy website, you could have things sorted in various ways by subject. Of course, you would want because that way people could look at the things they're interested in, and you could also have it by popularity, which is there's a bad point to that because then you have a bandwagon effect. Something could just start to become popular and then it becomes popular, even more popular because it's popular,
Right.
I'm not saying that's necessarily that great an idea, but I think you should have that. Um, so um, uh, and another thing is that you can have sortition also for for people proposing referendums, not just voting on them. That would limit the number of them that for people to vote on. And this is a thing where it's like you can't predict how it was going to turn out. You just have to create a website and see how it goes. You know how often people propose things. Another thing is you don't want multiple people proposing essentially the same thing. Actually, the bandwagon effect could be a good thing in that sense because the minute people would, if there are multiple referendums, and people would, whichever one happened to be getting the most votes would would go ahead of the rest of the other ones. So the votes wouldn't be split among them.
So who are the people who are making these? Who are making the what was the word? The people
proposals or referendums.
Yeah.
Anyone. Well, except if it's partition. I mean, it would be everyone when they got their chance. Of course, you could have such, extreme sortition that a lot of people might never even get a chance in their whole lives. It wouldn't matter because, they, like I said in the previous video, they might feel disenfranchised, but logically, that it's the votes are still representing what the population wants.
And what if, well, I don't want to ask this too early because we have a list of things we want to talk about, but let us say in the time in which we're living, there's a country that hates a certain population that lives in a ghetto, and that country, I'm talking about Israel, everybody in the country, if they got the direct democracy right now, I don't want to think what they would all be voting against Gaza or the West Bank.
Yeah, well, we talked about this in a previous video. It's not a matter of whether minority rights are protected. It's a matter of whether they're more protected with direct. I should say that with less protected with politicians. With representative democracy. Politicians have murdered people too, like I said in the previous video, Hitler murdered people. So they have a proven record of doing this. It's as long as the direct democracy doesn't lead to more genocide than politicians.
We want to find a system that prohibits it or delays it or stops it or puts it out of business. I mean, but I guess
what we're discussing now is whether you should have direct democracy or representative democracy,
right.
And it it could very well be, and in Israel right now, it would be that they would vote that way, but the politicians are already doing that. They just bombed Gaza. An open air concentration camp where the people are basically defenseless.
Right.
So how much worse can the people do? And usually, most of the time, the people would do better. And also, what's going on in Israel is a result of a history behind it, which was caused by representative democracy. Right. They got into this mess because of that. Right. If it hadn't been for that. The situation would be far better than it is now.
Right. I agree with you that the basic, the internal system that causes all the inequity and all the misery after a couple of generations of after I don't know how long, we can't know that, but life would get better everywhere, I think. In general,
I think it would get better very quickly.
Very quick. I have to agree with you. That's how I see it. Well.
Yeah, like I said, in an afternoon, I said in the previous video, in an afternoon, you could vote on a series of things that would make the world an immensely better place, right. Ending war, distribution of wealth downward.
Right. And the people who are like libertarians, for instance, who you and I know very much about, because we had friends who, I still have friends that don't want to pay taxes, and they want everything privatized. They would be outnumbered, I'm sure. Would they not?
Uh, I, I think so.
Indirect, I would,
And it's more than just not wanting to pay taxes. It's I've met libertarians uh, who actually said to me that capitalism creates equality.
they don't want that.
No, they want that. They're actually libertarians because they think that capitalism creates equality, and they want equality. And the reason why is because not only is there competition,
Oh, go ahead.
not only is there competition for salaries, which tends to lower salaries, but there's also competition for between businesses for customers, which tends to lower prices. So they think that under capitalism, it's neutral, as far as economic equality goes. And the reason that they're wrong is because they're missing the essential part of capitalism. They think that capitalism is just the market system, which is inherently fair. But that's not what capitalism is. Capitalism is investing, and that's what's not fair. They Because someone who invests gets endless amounts of more money from the investments without doing anything after the initial investments. And so then the disparities grow and grow and grow. I have met so many libertarians who actually think that capitalism is the market system. That's all it is. They're oblivious to that. Actually, it's not that at all. It is even market socialism. You can have a market system under socialism. It doesn't have to be centrally planned economies. And so they're oblivious to what capitalism really is, which is private people investing instead of under socialism, where everyone invests collectively,
Yeah.
and everyone gets the income from that, not individuals unequally. One thing I was going to say when there's a break in the conversation is that there were actually two things I was going to say about fake democracy decoys. So we just talked about one of them. And the other one is what I talked in one of the previous videos about how I saw that there was a direct democracy candidate. Two of them. There was one. There's one in Dania, Florida, which I talked about how I used to be in that district, and you are, Don Endres, and I don't know what the details are of his idea of direct democracy, but I said that there was one in San Diego. In fact, there's a district that it turns out right south of mine, and what happened was I watched back the video where I saw him interviewed, and it's a fraud. It's the other of the two decoys that I know about, the fake direct democracy. He would be the one who would propose the questions which the people would answer. The people could not propose the questions. So that's a fraud, because
It's not any kind of democracy.
right. So if he knows how the people would vote on something and doesn't like it, all he has to do is not ask the question.
Tsar Nicholas again. Yeah.
Who's that?
Tsar Nicholas II. I brought him up a minute ago.
I thought you said Don Nicholas. Like, who's that?
Oh, no.
Yeah. And there's another very prominent example of this, and that is MoveOn.org.
Are they still around? I never hear about them. Are they still?
I never do either. I don't know if they're still around. I hope they're not. They're nothing. They were nothing but a Democratic Party front group, and what they did was, again, they asked the questions. People could not ask them, and during when there was a movement to impeach Bush and Cheney, and most overwhelmingly Democratic voters wanted to impeach them, actually, and the voters in general, by a slight majority, wanted to impeach them. Um, they, everyone was demanding that MoveOn.org put this to a vote. Should they be impeached? And they refused. When the Democrats were refusing to impeach them, MoveOn.org refused to put the question so that people could vote to impeach them.
Yeah.
Another
I
fraud.
don't remember that. I do know that the country generally was in, they hated Bush and Cheney, which
They
is
were,
why Obama was elected.
yeah.
Obama was going to, the man on the white horse, he was going to give us transparency. He was going to supposedly put them in jail or put them up on charges, and he did nothing except extend everything that they started.
Yeah, yeah.
On
You
steroids.
know what the view of the U.S. political system is like from a distance, looking over the system ever since the Civil War, and we have these two parties, the Democrats and Republicans. The what it looks like is RD, 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 or DRDRDRDRDRDR. It's just ping-ponging endlessly back and forth between these two. The Republicans win. They're so horrendous that the next time the Democrats win, they don't give the people what they want, so people just stay home. So then the Republicans win, and they're so horrendous that the next election, the Democrats win, and on and on and on and on. And it's like the Democratic liberal voters. It's like they don't even look at the big picture. You're not going to get Democrats all the time. You're going to get RD, 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 RD. So
awful. It's a one-party system, and there's no democracy. So what can you do? Until people wake up and realize lesser of two evil is. I'm sick of hearing that. I'm sick of voting that way.
oh yeah, I've said point blank to liberals. Okay, suppose that both the Democrats and the Republicans advocate mowing down the entire population with machine guns, and the Republicans' bullets are slightly more painful than the Democrats. Would you vote for them because the Democrats because of the lesser of two evils? And I have actually had people say to me without hesitation, yes.
Really?
And then I say, oh, so you want to vote for your own death? Don't you think that if it came down to that, I mean, or even the way it is now, they're
because
so horrendous.
they're all on Kool-Aid or something. I don't know what it is. What is going to wake up? Well, people do wake up, but they don't. They just no, they don't question anything about maybe there's another way, maybe there's something else we could do. Whatever it is, they go back to it. We continue, I've spent my life, not wanting to vote for two evils. What's the difference in one or the other? But don't you think that young people today recognize this? We're too old. We've been.
Well, they recognize that something's really wrong.
Right.
They're enraged at what's going on.
They are.
But that doesn't mean they know what to do. I've never, I don't hear young people. Actually, I don't. Unfortunately, I'm 64, and I don't have. I haven't had contact with young people. I actually met a friend here who's 30. So we haven't talked really about politics. He's actually the realtor's assistant that I met in the course of buying a house here. And he scuba dives also. That's why we became friends. So I hope that the conversation turns to that. He's already kind of hinted like that his life sucks.
Yeah, well, everybody knows it. Young kids know this better than anyone else. But You were going to say that you looked up Jimmy Dore's video on direct democracy, because I love Jimmy
Yes.
Dore and Lee Camp. I'm crazy about Max Blumenthal and the gray zone, and they don't talk about direct democracy. They're more into foreign relations and stuff. I've
Yeah,
never.
and yeah, so this is another thing that I mean, basically, this section of the video was about all the things that we talked about in previous videos, and there are updates on them because I've looked things up.
Right. So what did you find with Jimmy
People
Dore? You
check.
told me you wanted to
Yeah,
talk
so
about.
yeah, so I said in a previous video that both Jimmy Dore and Lee Camp, another political comedian, very left-leaning, kind of. I mean, Jimmy Dore has done some really ridiculous things. He's not totally with it.
No,
No, I
love
mean,
him. I'm crazy
I
about Jimmy Dore. I
he,
love
I
him.
mean, he had that video where he was widely attacked because he had right after the January 6th
Right.
attempted fascist coup in the U.S.
He had
He had that video with that guy who said that he was with the
Proud
what was
Boy.
that?
Proud Boy.
Yeah,
Was it Proud Boy?
no, it was something. It's something else. I can't remember what it's called now.
I don't remember. It was,
A fascist group,
yeah.
and it's like the most
Oh,
well-known one. But I
Boogaloo.
can't.
Boogaloo. It was Boogaloo.
Oh yeah, Boogaloo. Yeah, that's right. Boogaloo Boys, and and uh, and he claimed that the Boogaloo Boys are actually leftists.
No,
And he
no,
said,
no.
"Oh,
I watched that interview twice. I couldn't believe it. It
so
was stunning because the fellow seemed to agree with us, with all the left agenda. He seemed to agree. Maybe you should watch that interview. And then,
who me
yeah,
or
you didn't
the
watch
people
it?
watching
Yeah,
us?
Roy.
No, I saw it twice.
Oh, you saw
Also,
it twice. Okay. Well, what did you make of it?
how do you think I know about it?
I
Um,
thought maybe you heard Jimmy
oh,
talking about it, but you actually watched the interview.
yeah, twice.
Okay, so
Yeah, he says he's I can't remember if he said he is gay or he's
that's
for
right.
gay
He did.
rights.
Yes, he was gay. Yes, he was gay.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's just a fraud. It's the Nazis also pretended that they called themselves National Socialists because they wanted to fool people that they were socialists, and then once they got into power, there was what's called the Night of the Long Knives.
Long knives.
Yeah, where the
Homosexuals were murdered.
well, I mean, the socialists were murdered, the socialists in the party. Yeah. So that, and I think I've seen things where they even the Boogaloo Boys have even discussed how they want to fool the public by pretending to be leftist, so that people would support them.
Well, they're playing Hitler. A lot of people are using old playbooks, and that's one of them.
Yeah. So Jimmy Dore fell for that.
Well, he's
And also,
only human. What do you want? I would fall for stuff too. We can't always be, we can't always know what other people are trying to do to us. There's some good
yeah,
actors out there.
but he's a political comedian. He ought to be knowledgeable about politics if he's a political comedian.
I think people are human. That's what I think they are. So,
Well, he's very human.
Well,
A little too much, I think.
I love him. Force the vote was the greatest idea.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And what happened to him over that is so cruel and despicable that it makes, I think, any 20-year-old who followed that anybody who followed it, but young people especially, because they need the health care and they need the student loan debt.
Hey, I'm 64. I need the health care.
Yeah.
Or at least for 3 months until I reach Medicare age.
Yeah, no, Jimmy was very, very brilliant. That was strategy. That was and he whipped them up, that squad, whatever they call themselves. They're a bunch of oh, I don't want to curse on
Yeah.
this video, but so Jimmy Dore did, when I spoke with him, because I waited online to take a photograph with him in Miami, only for the purpose of asking him, please don't expect the Democratic Party to be reconstructed from within. You cannot, there's nothing you can do for the Democratic Party from within, from without. Forget about, try direct democracy. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, yes, he says, yes, I did that on the Jesse Ventura show. I took over.
Who's a libertarian, by the way.
But I love Jesse. I love, listen, see, I'm not like you. I listen to everybody.
No, I, it's not like I don't listen to everybody. How do I know he's a libertarian if I never listened to him?
Right, but okay, well, we could talk about that some other time.
Well, yeah,
But
I could have
Jimmy
looked it up,
Dore,
but
Jimmy Dore said to me, oh, I did that. I did a whole show for Jesse Ventura. And you said that you found it. Now I'm curious to know what you found when Jimmy Dore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked, so I watched, I did a Google search on or a YouTube search on
Yeah.
For that video and also for the alleged Lee Camp videos on direct democracy, which I thought I remembered having seen. And Jimmy Dore was not very happy with direct democracy, and he used the bogus mob rule or actually the minority rights, which is basically the same thing, argument. He said, how are we going to protect minority rights? And I just covered that in this video already earlier. And so now I know why he's never brought it up again, because he's really not that thrilled with the idea.
Uh-huh. Well,
And then when I looked up Lee Camp, I couldn't even find a video on it. Maybe maybe I just didn't see it. But so I'm more and more, especially after that with Jimmy Dore, I have become convinced that the reason why people are not for direct democracy, why this idea is not spreading like wildfire, like it should, is because of these bogus arguments that I've been talking about in these videos. I think a lot of it has to do with brainwashing when Americans were kids. That the founding fathers were against direct democracy. Because of minority, it doesn't protect minority rights, there's a very good reason why our education system, which is controlled by the government, which is controlled by the capitalists, the billionaires, why they indoctrinate people, kids, to be against direct democracy. And I think that's, well, I kept saying, like in the previous videos, like, I don't understand it. Why are people why isn't this idea spreading like crazy? And I think the things that I hear people say repeatedly are the reason. All of these bogus arguments against it.
Name the bogus arguments. There's the minority rule argument, which is the first thing everybody thinks of, right?
I don't know if it's the first thing.
Majority rule. I'm sorry, majority over the minority.
No, minority rights.
Minority rights. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the other ones? I don't have my notes in front of me.
I can tell you what some of them are, because I've tried to tell audiences whenever I speak about politics or this issue, any issue of voting comes up. Whoever is in the audience, they listen when I hold up my cell phone and I say, well, we've all got the capability to vote on a cell phone. We don't have to go and go to the polling stations, and everyone all over the world has a cell phone now, even if they live in a thatched hut, a thatched roof hut.
Yeah,
So
that's one objection. That's one of the common objections is, but not about online direct democracy is, but not everyone has a cell phone or a
Everyone,
computer
they
or
probably,
internet access.
would you be able to find out the answer to how many people on this globe have?
Yes, I talked about it in one of the previous videos.
Well,
I told how much. I think it was 85% in the developed world and 45% in the undeveloped world, the developing world, and the and it was going up like 20% every decade. So even the developing world would have almost universal internet access,
right,
and in just like 2 decades.
right. So
You
that,
know, this is just from memory. I may have the figures wrong. Um, you know, so
but the objection or the immediate response, I'm telling you,
oh yeah. Well, I'm just repeating
immediately,
myself. This is
immediately, what?
I don't see the point of saying things that I already said in previous videos.
Right,
I'm
but
just repeating myself.
right. But I'm saying the immediate response I always get is hacking, hacking, hacking. Ronelle, they'll hack, they'll hack, they'll hack,
That's another
they'll
one.
steal the election.
Blockchain.
So I tell
That's
them
the
about
answer.
blockchain. So what
Yeah,
is on your agenda for tonight, so we don't repeat ourselves?
yeah. Okay. Let's see here.
You were going to talk
Oh,
about,
well, okay. I have three more objections, common objections to direct democracy that I wanted to cover. Let's see. Oh, and actually, I just covered one of them. There would be too many proposals to vote on. Yeah, this is just you just have to, create. Like I said in the last video about how to get direct democracy, you have to you have to talk to people to spread this idea, answer the objections. You have to create an organization. You have to have that organization run by direct democracy. Here, I'm repeating myself anyway.
by organization, you mean a party? Don't
No,
mention
no,
that word party to
definitely
me.
not a
I
party.
hate the word party.
No, not a party. Nothing, not involved in the political system. Just an organization of people who gather together in favor of direct democracy, and then you would want to run the organization with direct democracy, of course, online direct democracy. So you create a website to run the organization, and then as more and more people join, you have to scale up the website, to get it to work right. You have to deal with these problems of what happens if people are just inundated with proposals from other people.
Have you heard
and
about, have you heard about Pancake?
Yes, well, in fact, I almost got to the point of donating to it a
Why
couple of
didn't
weeks
you?
ago
Why did you?
because I don't, it won't work. That's why, because it's not radical.
Not radical?
Pancake is because the capitalists have been censoring Facebook and all of the social media, Reddit, YouTube, because they're afraid that there's going to be a revolution, so they're trying to nip it in the bud. And of course, they have all other excuses for it, why they're having this increasing censorship. But that's the real reason. The capitalism is failing, and they know that people are getting more and more enraged. You said in the beginning of the video that we're doing this sometime in July of, and in fact, we're doing it on July 1st, 2021. And it's very appropriate for us to do it today because today the U.S. moratorium on evictions ended. Because there was a moratorium on evictions because of the COVID epidemic, and in the previous video I said how I had heard that like 1/6 to 1/3 of Americans could be evicted, which was so that's 50 to 100 million. The latest figure I heard is 25 million. Imagine 25 million people kicked out on the streets.
No.
And 25 million houses. Well, I mean, I should say enough houses to house those 25 million. On average, there are about 3 people, I think, per household. So imagine all these empty houses sitting there, and 25 million people out on the streets. And every time they try to take shelter in one of those houses, let's say in the dead of winter, the police come and kick them out. If that doesn't cause a revolution, I don't know what will. So, I mean, I'm certainly not hoping for this to happen to people. I know it's obviously going to happen. Up until now, they can't. Whether it was Biden or Trump, doesn't matter. They're all you can hardly see any difference between the two of them,
Right.
despite what liberals say, or in fact Trump supporters say. They both were kicking the can down the road. They kept on extending the moratorium on evictions for a few months and a few months more and a few months more. But now they stopped kicking the can down the road. It's going to happen. And in the UK, it happened a month ago. Now, it does take some time for the legal system the gears to turn and for people to actually be kicked out. And it takes about a month, I've read. And so in the UK, the mass evictions should be starting right now. In the US, they should be starting in a month or so. And what I read is that they estimate about half of the evictions in the US are going to be in the next 2 months, and then the other half in the rest of the year. And the next 2 months, of course, being July and August well, actually, they said the next 2 months from the start of the end of the moratorium. So that would be August,
Summer.
basically.
It's going to be a
Yeah.
hot summer. Yeah.
Yes, well, it already is in Seattle and Portland,
Right.
and Vancouver.
Well, they don't want to do this in the dead of winter because imagine the photographs, people out in the snow, where they're going to go. I mean, if they kick the can down the road into the winter and the moratorium ends and they're kicking people out in
No, I don't think. No, I think that they think that they have militarized the police.
Right.
Once again, both Democrats and Republicans,
Right.
doesn't matter, and they are going to crush a revolution.
Right.
They're expecting one. They're getting ready for it.
I believe that must be.
And I wish I was as optimistic as they are. They're on their side, it's pessimism, but they really obviously expect one. And yet, if you talk to most people, it's like, there'll never be a revolution. And yet, the capitalists are busy getting ready for one. They sure expect one.
Right.
I don't know if they expect, but they want to be sure that it doesn't happen.
Well, there's another way of looking at what you just said, because I think about this all the time. They have to know they're kicking 25 million people out of 25 million houses, or 25 million people, is it? People. That's got to cause marching in the street and some type of revolt. That has to. And not only are they prepared for it, but I think they're provoking it in a way, because I think for a long time, even going back to the Obama administration, I mean, how stupid could these people in Congress be that they don't know we're coming for them, in the sense that we're coming to be angry and we're coming again to march in the street and say, no, you can't do, they know the mob with the pitchforks is at the door. They know that whatever it is, taking over our lives the way they've done in my lifetime, incrementally, like the frog in the teapot, they have to know at some point it comes to a head where nobody's got jobs, nobody's got a life, nobody's got a future. And that's cause for revolt, obviously. And they've I think the people in power really don't care because they do have the power. They have the guns, they've got the bombs, they've got whatever it takes to crush the population of this country, and they don't care. In other words, what I'm saying is they're not afraid of us. They haven't been afraid of us for a very, very long time. And I see what's coming as hopeless. I don't have a good, unless it's direct democracy, I don't want to listen to any new parties. Nick Brana is a very nice guy. Jimmy Dore, I love him. Everyone's talking about new parties. I'm sick of that because it doesn't work and they know it doesn't work. And it's just, we're going
No,
through.
they don't know it,
Who?
unfortunately. So, you know, like the Nick Brana and Jimmy Dore,
Because
they
they
don't know.
have
They
to
don't,
have, right, right. But I've written that off. I mean, I love those people, but they just want to keep on hoping. And the hope is what misleads everybody. And the psychopaths who are a small majority, a small percentage of humans. I don't know what the number is for psychopaths, what percentage, but they're in charge and they don't care. They're I don't think they're afraid of any revolt. Of course, yes, they've got the tanks. The police have been totally militarized. My police department in Pembroke Pines went to Israel to be trained. What does that tell you? San Diego, they went to the police departments go to Israel to learn how to put down innocent people who have no weapons. And what can I say? I'm very depressed. That's what I'm saying. And this thing about the 25, now I don't think I could bear looking at that television. I don't watch TV anyway, but um, you're right.
yeah,
You've been telling me this
that,
for a very long time, and I don't want to. I keep hoping they're kicking the can down the road because I really don't want to see this.
no, they're not. They're not. They stopped.
Right.
Today was the day. There's
Right.
no moratorium.
I
Oh,
understand.
I
Yes.
misunderstood you.
No, I understand. And I've been, all this time, I've been trying not to think about what's going to happen. And I think that they are provoking. They know what listen, they don't run the
Yeah,
CIA and the NSA all these decades doing horrific things on the planet without, they're listening to us right now. I'm sure they're under my table somewhere.
hello, NSA.
Yeah.
Hope you're having a nice day.
Ed Snowden is the greatest hero of the century. Julian Assange, what's going on with him? I had to stop thinking about Julian Assange because I couldn't bear it anymore. Every day thinking about him in that prison and what he means to an open society where there is transparency and truth of some kind. These are heroes. These are magnificent heroes that nobody, so many people have never heard of Julian Assange. Anyway, I'm getting off the. So what do you think that they're just gearing up for the revolt, which may not
Yes,
even.
and not only that, they're holding Trump in the wings.
Yes,
Well, this is what they always do.
yes,
If when there's a threat of a revolution, their last ditch stand is to call out the fascists.
right.
That's why the Democrats are, as usual, being just complete. They have the spineless act. It's just an act,
Mm.
uh, and and when they impeached Bush, I mean Trump, they didn't impeach him for anything that he should have been impeached for.
Right.
They impeached him over RussiaGate. Uh, uh, they're not against what they should impeach
Right.
him for, and that attempted fascist coup, January 6th, is just the beginning. It's probably going to happen well before the next election, and Trump has also completely taken over the Republican Party. It's now basically a Nazi party, and so as usual, when the Democrats don't do anything they promised, you're going to see them start losing Congress people. The Republicans are going to take over the Congress again, and then they're going to keep on doing nothing that the people want, and
Artie.
acting clueless, like they can't figure out why this is happening. Oh, it's Russia. That's why. And then Trump is going to win in 4 years. Well, now it's less than 4 years, and then we'll have outright fascism. I mean, it'll happen long before then because of these evictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those houses will belong to, they're probably salivating over the billions they're going to make from picking up these foreclosures.
Oh, yeah. And they're trying to turn it so that Americans are all renters instead of mortgagees, which is not better, even much better. If you have a mortgage, you still don't really own the house.
Right.
Yeah. That's what they're trying to do. But still, renting is even worse than being a mortgagee, and they're trying to do that. Yeah.
Well, do you think that Europeans and Asians, Africans are more likely to get to, I mean, why are Americans so difficult to, well, we think we've had good lives. I guess that's what it is. We've all been brainwashed to think this is the greatest, the exceptionalism, and we have the best country and we have the best of everything. So Americans are, at least in my audiences, which make up large numbers of senior citizens who grew up and raised their families in the New Deal, where everybody believed they were getting, the greatest opportunities and the greatest, well, it was better.
Yeah.
But like you say, it was an aberration. It wasn't the normal. It wasn't.
And that's in a previous video.
Right.
And also opportunity. As we used to say in New York when I lived there, opportunity and $1.50 or whatever it is now will get you on the subway.
Subway. Yeah. I remember Subway's about $3 now.
Yeah. How about just giving people things instead of the opportunity, the theoretical opportunity to get things?
Right. We'll give you a chance. Just rise up from your bootstraps. Yeah.
Yeah.
No way. Piketty, that guy Piketty in
Yeah,
France, that 1,000-page book. He showed, not that I read much of the book, but I do know the essence of what he did. I think we talked about it once, you and I.
Yes,
That the gap of why it was such a stunning book is because he did the analysis proving with the charts that there's no way for the gap anymore. Maybe it used to be, but no longer can a poor person ever catch up with a rich person. The gap is too wide and they'd have to work 1,000 years to, wasn't that the meaning of his Capital? It was called Capital.
Yeah.
So
I think it was called Capital in the 21st century or something.
right, Capital in the 20th century, I think.
20th century.
But why are Americans so reluctant to wake up? Why? Do you think Europeans are more apt to notice?
Well, I know the French are.
Yes, they sure are.
Just before the epidemic hit, France practically had a revolution, and also in 1968 it practically had a revolution.
Yeah, they've had communist presidents and they've had socialist people in their government for decades. So my husband
who betrayed them. They weren't.
Well,
they were fake. Yeah,
they were fake. Leon Blum and Pierre Mendes France, they were all, I don't know. but maybe
Well,
they were
I don't
fake.
know. I don't know about those going that far back. I don't. I never heard of those people.
Oh,
I mean, I already talked in the previous video about Francois Hollande.
oh
That
no,
who?
back in the 30s. I'm talking 20s and 30s and early 40s.
Yeah.
The
Well,
communists.
they they probably gave the people some of what they wanted because again they're afraid of revolution. That's the only way that the people
But
even get
that's a good
reformed.
reason. But okay, if that's the only way we're going to get free healthcare or free student education, okay, they're
That doesn't
afraid of
work.
us. That's the point. We have to
No,
make
but
them. No,
as no, but as we see in the past 40 years, that doesn't work. Then
right,
the minute their first chance, they take it all back.
right.
Unless we continuously threaten them, but then people get complacent, then they and stop threatening a revolution, and then they take the money back.
That word, the word you just said, complacent, that is, it drives me crazy because I was a hippie in the 60s. And so many of the people I knew back then in Greenwich Village, they have become filthy rich. They've become, and I have to one, I mean, not all of them, of course, but I have to think about what made people like myself betray the principles and go in a completely different direction so that they're part of the problem now. And um, and I think the word is complacent. I
I think the word is Vietnam,
no. I
which ends
think,
the draft.
the draft, yes, but well, yes, because that's part of what I'm about to say. Complacent means life is good and life is okay, and we're getting along and we're having a family, a house, and living a nice life. And for people on the left, I'm trying to discern why people on the left have lost the impetus, because we used to be in the 20s and 30s. Well, go back to the history of union organ. I have a million books here about the labor movement in the 19th century, early 20th century, what was done to the communist parties and the socialist parties and the union organ, what was done there. They were killed, they were deported, they were, all of that happened and completely eliminated over time. And then the hippies come in the 60s, anti-war movement, which is a very important thing to have. Uh, and when it was all over, like you say, they didn't have to, there's no more draft, but everybody got complacent. That's the word I want to point out. The complacency of people who were just ordinary working people who wanted a decent life. They didn't want to be millionaires and have a mansion. They were just happy with life. And what happened to them? Well, what happened is the vultures took over. That's what I'm trying to say. The psychopaths who were not people, who are generally not people who are just happy to have a life and kids and a family. And do you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not being clear about this.
Well, I guess we're looking. It's kind of like the glass is half full or half empty. What I'm saying is that they were not. They were fake leftists. They were just. Their leftism was skin deep, shallow. All they really cared about was the draft, and as soon as it ended, there was, they went. That's why that they
It's not
abandoned that.
because they became too comfortable and they got blindsided or
Well, they certainly became more comfortable when the draft ended.
right, exactly.
But
And
but
nobody fought anymore. That the anger was over. The movement, the pressure on the government. Oh, well, let them, I don't know, maybe everyone was on drugs for the last 40, 50 years, but it seems like laying off the pressure, stopping the pressure on the representatives. But then again, it's still, what can I say? I don't have the answers. I only have questions. And I think having questions is almost more important than having answers sometimes, because it's asking questions that make you realize things are not right. And a lot of people don't ask. I tell this to audiences all the time, that I just got a message that the internet was unstable. I don't know what that means, but asking questions is, and the problem is that people don't. Oh, Roy, you disappeared. I'm all alone here. I don't know what happened to Roy. I just finished the sentence that I don't know where he went. That people never question the society in which they're living until it's too late or many decades later. Okay, I think I will end this and start all over again because I don't know what happened to Roy. So goodbye, everybody. I'll bring Roy back and ask him more questions. And I hope you'll all be asking a lot of questions yourselves and meeting